So we're going to be making some butter today. To go with our
Awesome.
butter. So we get to start with heavy cream.
Okay, why heavy cream to make butter?
This has the greatest concentrations of the milk fats. Because to do butter, we're basically trying to separate the fat out from the rest of the liquid milk.
Okay, and so how are we going to do that?
We are going to be shaking it in a jar. So at this point, Johnny and I took turns shaking the butter in the jar. So look at this now. Do you see that we're starting to coat?
Yeah, it's really beginning to
I'm
get
just
very
gonna
thick in there.
Show you come up to the camera here. You can see the heavier cream is starting to stick to the edge. So we're not even quite to whipped cream yet. Now as we're shaking, do you hear that we're not hearing it slosh so much?
No, I don't get the sloshing like it did in the beginning.
So that's a pretty good indication it's starting to thicken up, and as you can see, we have achieved whipped cream. So if we stop here, we have fixings for a real nice dessert.
Awesome, but we want to go past this
Yeah,
point.
we're gonna keep it going, so we're gonna keep shaking.
Okay.
Do you see that we're starting to get these little windows opening back up where the cream's not coating anymore?
Yeah, so we're now seeing the gaps here, so it's no longer just all over the place.
Exactly, so we're able to kind of see through a little bit. So this is our indication that it's starting to turn from whipped cream to butter because the fats are starting to clump up to leave liquid. So we're gonna keep doing it as we go. We're gonna see all this coating on the outside of the jar start to disappear, and we're gonna start to be able to see through the jar again. Okay, so look here, we can see through the jar mostly now.
Yeah, so this is, now we're closer to the butter plant. Are we at butter yet though?
Very, very close because we're starting to see how there's starting to be some liquid that's separate when we open up, but we still have what looks like kind of heavy whipped cream in it instead of like yellow globs of butter. So can you see? Okay, so if you notice, we're starting to get what looks like really heavy whipped cream.
Yeah.
There's some solids and there's some liquid around it.
It's no longer clinging to the sides of the jar.
No, because the butter is sticking together and letting the liquid out.
Okay.
So this is going to be to butter really quick from this point. So, how liquid it looks
Yeah.
like. I think we are, if we're not there, we're very close. We are there. So you see how you got the clumps?
Yeah, so now there's that really clumpy pieces and everything and that looks
Yes.
like butter.
Yes. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and pour this liquid out here now.
Okay.
So it looks kind of like a thin milk.
It does, yeah. And this is what we originally get from the term buttermilk.
Okay, so we got most of that out. We're going to slide our butter out here onto the plate.
We have a spoon there for that.
Now you can see it still looks a little chunky.
Yeah, this isn't kind of like the clear, smooth stuff that we know and see.
Yeah, so what we're going to do, and if I squeeze it here, you can see I've got little
Bubbles. Liquid coming up on the top.
So we're going to actually take this to the sink and just rinse it under some running water while I squeeze it like this to rinse out that extra.
Okay.
And we will be right back. Okay, so what we're doing at this point is we're kind of taking a wooden paddle and kind of patting our butter. And you can see that some more of this white liquid we poured off before is coming out.
And forming up on the top there and underneath it.
Right, and we can pour some of that off. Now there's two reasons we're doing this. One, we want to kind of get that fat to solidify better so it, like what we think of as butter. But also, one of the reasons butter was made was for food preservation purposes.
Because there was so little liquid in it there, it could last for a long period of
Yeah,
time.
we were switching it over to fats, and if we leave a lot of this liquid in it, it's more likely to go rancid and spoil. So you want to try and get that out as much as possible if you're doing this as a method of food preservation. Okay, so so now we're to our last stage.
Okay. And what's our last stage going to be here?
We are going to basically get some salt mixed into this. So do you want to add a few pinches of salt?
Sure, so about this much here?
Yeah, maybe even a little bit more than that. So we've got quite a bit of butter here.
Something kind of like more like a nice big kind of pinch there.
Yep. Now the salt's doing two things. It's going to help it remain fresh longer,
Uh-huh.
and it's also going to provide flavor.
Got it.
So how much salt you put in is going to be a lot of personal preference of how salty do you like your butter. And we're just going to sit here with our spatula.
You mind if I go and give that a try?
Yeah,
then
go
and see
for
what
it.
we're doing here. So
And
we're just kind of mixing it all together here.
Yep, just kind of folding it together. This is also the step that if you wanted to add fresh herbs for flavor, you would sprinkle those in and mix them in. Now you see we're still getting a few little bits of liquid out of there.
Yeah.
We're just going to take a towel
We're going to pat that on
and
up
just
and everything.
pat that up a little bit. Now the quality of the butter, when this was made by hand, had a lot to do with how much did you put into kneading the butter like this. Can get out the most of the moisture so your butter didn't go rancid. Many times it was put into molds to harden up after that as a decorative way. Certain time periods in history, people, if they were selling the extra butter from as a way for some additional family income, sometimes there would even be stamps they would put on to mark whose butter it was.
Ah, so who made this butter, and you could then find the person who made the best in a way as
Right.
well. So, very cool. Your maker's mark for your butter.
Yes. So basically at this point, we'll just kind of mold it into a patty.
Okay.
And since we have modern refrigeration,
Mm-hmm.
at this point, I suggest putting it in the refrigerator. It will harden it up a little bit.
And then just let it go.
And then just use it like regular butter.
Fantastic. And there we go, dear viewers. My ability to make a pat of butter.
Okay.